And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Starting off with hazardous weather, there's a winter storm warning continues out for the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island, and here west of McGrath there, actually about the Kuskokwim Mountains westward, but the Yukon Delta under the influence of a winter weather advisory for gusty winds and blowing snow there. And for the eastern Arctic coast, that's a winter storm warning out for strong winds and blowing snow, reducing visibilities down to less than a quarter mile, if not whiteout conditions there, with winds gusting to 70 miles an hour. And for the central Arctic coast, winter weather advisory out for winds gusting to 50 miles an hour, and visibility is not as low as here on the east side. Then there's a wind chill warning out there for the eastern interior areas for wind chills anywhere from 40 to 60 degrees below zero, and a high wind warning out for the eastern Aleutians, Nikolsky, Dutch Harbor on Alaska, later tonight through tomorrow for west winds gusting to 75 miles per hour. And on the eastern North Gulf Coast, Yakutat and into the northern panhandle there, winter snow advisory out for several inches of snow expected to fall in that area. And satellite imagery showing some clouds pushing up toward the eastern North Gulf Coast, beginning to spread in over the northern panhandle. Otherwise, the main flow continuing here from south to north, several storm systems going riding in on that southerly flow, one tracking up to the north here, another stronger one approaching the eastern Aleutians. And here's the first one there, tracking northward, the front into the interior, and the next one here spreading moisture and gusty winds, rain heavy at times in across the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians today. And on the chart, there's the first low there, weakening as it pulls northward with the front in along the coast, and the gusty south to southeast winds continuing there. Seward Peninsula right on down into the Yukon Delta and the interior. Warmer temperatures, mostly rain falling over Bristol Bay here down along the Alaska Peninsula. Rain heavy at times there with winds on the increase, and that low tracking up toward the eastern Aleutians today. Otherwise, very cold temperatures here continue over the northeast part of the state. And also the panhandle staying pretty chilly, but areas of light snow starting to develop there, as well as the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound and along the western Alaska Range, and some of that getting up into the Copper River Basin there to the east central Alaska Range area. For tonight, this low pulls northward here, and once it does get north of the latitude of the eastern Aleutians, that's when those strong winds will kick in, bringing colder air with it. West winds gusting 75 miles an hour with snow, maybe even blowing snow, and strong winds for the Alaska Peninsula. It could be southeast winds gusting anywhere from 50 to 65 miles per hour, particularly for Cold Bay up to about Port Hayden there. Also very windy conditions in store for the Bristol Bay area, and areas of rain and snow for the southwest coast here. Snow over the inland areas extending up to the Seward Peninsula and all the way up to the Noatak Valley, but strong winds, blowing snow, and low wind chills there for the eastern Arctic coast into the northeast interior areas. Snow on the increase over the southeast interior, and also snow on the increase from the entire southeast coast, as well as the North Gulf Coast, mainly the southern Kenai Peninsula area and western Cook Inlet up to the Alaska Range. And then for tomorrow, this front pushes up and into south central Alaska there, with snow expected to occur all across southern Alaska, all the way out into the Bering Sea. Winds starting to diminish now for the eastern Aleutians. Gusty west winds maybe to 50 miles an hour for the Alaska Peninsula, with numerous snow showers all through this area back to the Pribilofs. Areas of snow for the Seward Peninsula up to the northwest coast. Snow and blowing snow along the Yukon River there, and more snow for the Panhandle. And that continues into Sunday. So a big change here for the southeast coast. Temperatures start really to warm up here Sunday afternoon, with coastal areas reaching the lower 40s, changing the precipitation there to rain. But for interior Alaska, snow from the Brooks Range, western North Slope, all the way down there to the Alaska Peninsula, and especially along this trough here across the lower Yukon River Valley areas. Strong winds continue for the eastern Arctic coast. Next system out here spreading warmer air and rain into the western Aleutians, that warm front pushing well up into the central Bering Sea areas. More of a light snow shower condition here for the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, with pretty light winds now under some weak ridging in that area. Lows for tonight in the lower to mid-30s here for the Alaska Peninsula, down to around 30 for the Adak-Atka area, the Shemya, upper 20s Pribilof, St. Lawrence Island, mid-30s Bristol Bay to Kodiak Island, 10 to 22 for south central Alaska. North of the Alaska Range, back below zero, 40 to 45 below for the Yukon Flats, and just a little below zero for the Arctic coast there with those very strong easterly winds. And for the southeast coast, near zero in the north, otherwise 5 to 15 elsewhere. Highs for tomorrow, 15 to 20 northern Panhandle, into the lower to mid-20s down to the south, and mid-30s for the North Gulf Coast here, 37 for Homer, 27 for Anchorage, and 24 for Talkeetna for the highs there. Below zero, central eastern interior north of the Alaska Range there, up to 10 for the Copper River Basin, and 0 to 5 for the Arctic coast, warmer in the west, near freezing for Nome for the high, and also for St. Lawrence Island. Mid to upper 30s here for the southwest interior areas, and mid to upper 30s also for the Alaska Peninsula to the central Aleutians. They'll be followed by lows anywhere from 20 to 35 below in the east and northeast part of the state again, maybe even on the central north slope. Otherwise, teens for the northern Panhandle, 20s elsewhere, and 20s to lower 30s for the south central Alaska region, back into the 20s there for Bristol Bay, and then the highs, lower 30s for Bristol Bay and mid 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, near 40 for the eastern Aleutians, lower 40s out toward Adak and Atka, and staying below zero here north of the Alaska Range, Tanana Valley all the way up to the Arctic coast, and highs reaching lower 40s around Sitka and Port Alexander. Still in the upper 20s to lower 30s to the north, but mid 30s for Yakutat.